it wasn't for swimming, I wouldn't be where I am now. I never thought that it would just unravel me enough to kind of get back to what I always wanted to be. And I would never have experienced all of this.
I think doing my own eye smile was the most extreme thing I've ever put my body through.
It's super extreme. Now I've got a lot of respect for people who go on that journey.
An eye smile is swimming a distance of a mile in water of 5 degrees or below.
Right, so yes, welcome back, Nerdly Out Loud, nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home. If you're back on the channel, you know what we do. These are more interviews, and this one is a little bit different. You all know that I do other film festivals where there's horror, sci-fi, all that kind of thing, but I'm now doing for Central Scotland Documentary Festival. Let me just do my little bit of pimpage for you, which is on Thursday the 2nd of November until Monday the 6th of November up in Stirling at Macro Burt Arts Centre. So this festival's coming up in November. It's going to be awesome. We've got some absolutely amazing documentaries. The guys asked me to come on board, do some of the stuff I do for other festivals, do some interviews, and speak to some awesome filmmakers. So that's what I'm doing tonight. And tonight we are joined by Rachel Serra, the director of a movie called Ice Mile, which I vaguely have a recollection of when this actually happened and of Becca's story, because I'm from the north as well. So I kind of remembered this a little bit. So it was really cool to see this documentary. How are you tonight, Rachel?
I'm good. Yeah, pretty chilled out.
Just pretty chilled out entertainer, just sitting in your van.
Yeah, cozy van.
I love it. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ice Mile in a moment, and a little bit about the festival that you're attending. Are you there for us?
I'm hoping so. I might have some work around then, so I'm going to see if I can fit it in.
That's absolutely cool. I mean, we will be offended if you don't turn up, but that's fine. And do you know what day Ice Mile's showing on yet? Because I've not been given that information yet.
No, I don't know either.
So we don't know when it is, but we will update you on all that. We'll put it all in the Facebook. We'll put it all in the chat, everything like that. It'll be everywhere, so don't worry about it. First of all, before we get into it, though, Rachel, one thing that I like to ask people right now, especially after everything that's been going on over the last few years, is basically just how are you keeping? How are you doing?
Well, that's a big question.
I mean, you don't have to go too deep. You can just say, well, I had a
my life story is I'm actually doing really well. I'm currently just temporarily moved into my van in between kind of houses as I'm moving up to Scotland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Scotland you going?
So Fort William area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Very
excited. Nice. All of my projects seem to be up in Scotland, so I've just decided to move myself up there, myself and my partner.
Well, the great thing about Scotland is it's a very, very photogenic country, so you'll be fine up there. You'll be fine.
Yeah, love plenty of work.
So let's jump back a little bit. I'd just like to ask people how they're doing, make sure everyone's okay, and let's just roll on with that. It is a bit of a serious question to start with, though. But seriously, so tell us a little bit, the viewers out there, the watchers out there, anybody who's listening to this, tell us a little bit about where you came from and how you came into the filmmaking, and more specific, why documentaries?
Oh gosh, do you want my life story? No. I started in film only about 4 years ago, actually.
Nice.
So I've had about every single job you can have going in, like hospitality, retail, everything. And I just kind of bounced around for like my whole life, and then picked up a camera about 5 years ago and was like, oh, this is it. So everything has just been totally self-taught, YouTube, friends.
Love that.
And I think documentary just made sense to me because I love the idea of sharing experience, but also like other people's experience, so to kind of provoke thought and also maybe have some positive change. So I'm kind of skewing, even though the Ice Mile doesn't really have too much of an environmental kind of side to it, that's kind of the direction I'm going now with my work. So yeah, hoping to make some stuff that make people make some good changes, maybe.
And was there anything out there, like a project out there that you saw that you were kind of like, yeah, actually that is definitely what I want to be doing and aiming at, or was it just I've got a camera, I can film some stuff, let's make movies?
A bit of both. I think like that idea of I saw this program once about an advertisement about shark fin soup that was made by these wildlife filmmakers. Not to go into it too deep, but the commercial like that they made was kind of against shark fin soup, and it actually had a really positive impact, and like the amount of people who were buying it just went down after this advertisement came out. And I was like, wow, that is like really powerful from
Change.
what a filmmaker and a team can do.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to do that, but maybe not about shark fin soup.
Well, you wanted to make your documentary about Becca Harvey, who done an ice mile. First of all, how did, we'll talk about the ice mile in a second, but how did this relationship, this friendship, this story come about?
So I hadn't made a film before, so I put a little shout out just to people like who's got an interesting story, or who wants to make a film basically with me. And then Becca sent me a message, and she actually comes from a TV producing background, so she actually sent me a message to be like, oh, let's make a film together, like I'll produce, you'll film. I completely misread the message and was like, you want me to make a film about you? That sounds good. And she never corrected me, so we ended up just having a call, and then she told me about the fact that she was training to do this ice mile. She's been trying to do it for like 2 years, and failed to get to the point of doing it. I was like, why, let's make a film about that. And yeah, she just never told me that was not her original intention, and we just started filming.
I love the idea that you were both making two completely different movies.
But now we're like best friends. Like we talked this morning on the phone, like just from something so small. I'm super grateful for that.
I really like that. And there's parts of the documentary where you can hear yourself asking Becca a question, or you get a voicemail message, and you can really tell that this wasn't just a filmmaker following someone. You could tell there was definitely a friendship behind that, and I really got that sense across. It was brilliant. So you spent a year knocking about with Becca and making this. What's it like having? Because I get really like agitated after 5 minutes of trying to do something. So how do you follow someone for a year and still keep yourself interested and still keep yourself running with it?
Well, not to go into it too much, but I mean, it was an unfunded doc. So number one, it was difficult because, financially difficult because it's, expensive driving up and down the country, and doing everything as cheap as you can, and doing everything on your own as well, pretty much. I had a bit of help here and there, but really everything was done by me. And that gets quite tiring, because you just think, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm just skint and tired. But I think because Becca was and is such a brilliant person, I just couldn't stop. And also I loved spending time with her as well. So it was like kind of good for me and my mental health. Even when I had a few dips, I'd go and get in the water, because I wasn't a swimmer before I started this. And I'd get in the water with her, with the camera and the underwater housing, and it just made me feel so much better. So just kept going.
I love that. So for our viewers, what exactly is an ice mile, and why do these things even exist?
Well, I don't know about the second question, but so an ice mile is swimming a mile in water under of 5 degrees and below, and you're not allowed to wear like gloves or like boots, and you basically just have to wear like a swim costume or swim trunks. And it's, I guess, in the way that people do like a record, like a Guinness World Record or something like that. It's like a very high prestige thing in the cold water swimming world. And there are like various versions of it and ways to do it, but it's quite, if you want to be ratified, where you're like in the roster and the list of people who've done it, there's some very specific things that you have to do. You have to have lots of people, like observers and everything, to like be like, yes, you definitely did it, and there's no cheating, and it's quite a serious thing.
Yeah, it's like because I sat down and I was watching the doc, and I'm sort of like, why would anybody do this? But then it's like, oh my god, people are really really into this. Like it's
It's
like
a
a
thing.
serious thing. And
I know.
I've read
I got really into the community. I had no idea about any of this stuff, so I was just I was as new to it as anyone else.
and how was that community towards you with you doing a documentary about their passion, their sport, basically that they love? Like, how were they embracing you, or were they a little bit apprehensive?
Not at all. I think the cold water swimming community is probably the most open community
Hmm.
because I've done a few different sports. Like I'm a big climber, and I love lots of different things. But for me, as much as I love all these other communities, the cold water swimmers just kind of
Yeah.
take you and invite you in. And I think there's also this weird thing, like we all have a weird thing about bodies, and no one cares in the cold water swimming community. Like on the side, everyone's getting naked and getting changed, and it's quite liberating actually.
I like that. Yeah. I might. No, I'm not going to join. I'm not
There's,
swimming in
there's
ice cold
lots
water.
of amazing men's groups as well, like that are open to everyone, but like especially
Hmm.
'cause it's a bit of a matriarchy, cold water swimming. There's lots of women involved, so there's lots of like attempts to bring the men in because they exist. You're there.
So, one thing that I always find intriguing about documentaries, and I always kind of wonder, and I suppose it's a question I've never really asked though, is the structuring of a doc, because you have your story of Becca's task that you're going to go for, but when it comes to like structuring that, even though you were both making two completely different movies at one point, how do you go about doing that? And was there any kind of moments that once you guys knew what you were doing? Was there anything that happened that made you sort of pivot a different way to adjust and include that?
Oh man. Well, not to give too much away, but
Yeah, not too much.
well, it was one of my first films, which taking on a documentary that size was a really silly idea for one of my
Yeah,
first films.
definitely.
So actually, I didn't really know what I was doing when I first started. I didn't film things properly. I didn't capture some things I should have. So when I got into the edit, I have to admit I was struggling. I had a few cries over like, oh my god, how am I gonna put this story together in a way that is engaging? Um, you know, and yeah, a few things did crop up that were not intended for the film, but they were important to put in, but also like sensitive. So
Yeah,
that's also really
yeah,
hard to try and put something in there that is quite a sensitive topic, but needs to be done justice. So that was tough. But yeah, I get very emotional about my films, and I get really emotionally attached to them. So I do, sit there in front of Premiere Pro like crying sometimes.
it is a fantastic story, and when you you get a little bit of Becca's backstory at the start as well, having just come out of it was a car crash, I believe it was, and then coming back to do this task that she'd always wanted to do, failed a couple of times. We're going to go through that. So it is a really, really positive story and a heartwarming story. But one of the other things that kind of amazes me now that you've said it is you've only been doing this for like 4 years, 5 years, and visually, I Smile is absolutely stunning. It looks brilliant. And in terms of like getting across the cold nature of the task, but also the warmth of the characters, I'm actually kind of blown away right now sitting here with you saying you've only been doing it for so long. But what was your approach to marrying those kind of aspects together?
Well, I think Becca made it pretty easy because she's like such a great person. And also, the other people in the film, Fennec as well. You'll meet him, and
Love
he's just
Fennec.
like, oh, man, I want to make a film about him.
Yeah,
Like,
you should.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's on my list because he is a force. So I think again, the cold water swimming community were really easy, like in the way that I didn't have to try and make them likable in the slightest. They were just who they were. The cinematography, filming in the water is tough, especially because I didn't have any experience filming in the water. So I just bought myself some cheap underwater housing, put my Sony in, and just experimented, and got some nice shots.
You did,
But also
you
got
did.
some really bad shots that didn't make it into the film.
Well, we can't put the bad ones in, but no, it's like I say, I already thought as I was watching this, I was kind of like blown away. I liked the imagery. I really liked what was going on and the story that it's telling, and the relationship with Fennec and the relationship with Becca's husband, which I just thought was brilliant. Absolutely, just like a pivotal point of the movie for me. That I was just sort of like, oh, I love this guy. This guy's awesome.
I wanted to put more of him in, but he just wasn't. He wasn't there on some of the later filming days. But I was like, more Michael, more Michael.
Wasn't committed.
Just a busy man.
So then tonight when I sit down and you tell me that that you've only been doing this for 4 or 5 years, that's an amazing feat, and I just want to tip my cap to you a little bit on that one for sure.
Thank you.
So what any good documentary, you go into it, you learn something, the viewer learns something, sometimes about him or herself. And I feel like I've maybe gone a little bit deep with some of my questions so far, so this is par for the course. Is there anything that you feel like you learned about yourself while making this documentary?
Yeah, 100%. So I am a non-finisher. Like I love to really get stuck into something and then I just can't finish it. It's like my van's not finished. You can see all the silver behind me. And so the fact that I stuck with this and finished it, especially when the edit got really tough, and when I was like working on my other film jobs and like trying to squeeze it in without it being funded and things like that, the fact that I was able to do that, I was actually really proud of myself, because I can be really tough on myself a lot with work. And it came, I watched it on the big screen as well. I did all the sound design myself, all the color grading. I did start to finish, everything was me. I learned how to color grade, I learned how to sound design. And so watching it in the cinema, I was like so scared that the sound was going to be bad. And I was like, oh my God. And then it was really good. And I was like, I can be good at stuff. That's really nice.
So that kind of leads into another question that I had, and you can elaborate on that a little bit. But it has been shown in a load of different screens, and we're going to be showing it in November, which we can't wait to do. But you've had a few showings all around the place. Has there been any one moment? Any director can always tell me what is wrong with their movie when they see it on the big screen. They can always say this was wrong, that was wrong. But has there been any one moment or something somebody's maybe said or something that's maybe happened that has made you go, we did it? This looks amazing. Yes,
actually. So I can't remember which screening it was. I think it was in Sunderland at the fire station. And there's a lot of like local people there. There's lots of Sunderland pride there, because obviously it shows Sunderland in such a beautiful light, which it often doesn't get shown in film.
Well, it's one of the worst places in the UK, isn't it?
apparently, according to some stats. But I won't tell you what like a moment in the film, but at one point everyone clapped in the middle of the film, and that never happened in any of the other screenings that we'd had. And so we were really kind of surprised by it, but we were like,
that's amazing.
We're clapping in the middle of a film.
Yeah.
And that was like, and Becca, like me and Becca, like turned to each other and we're like, what? It was really nice. Yeah, it's a good feeling.
See, even as a director, as a film purist, I'd still be running down the stairs and being like, shut up.
It's good. Shh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, more. Keep it going. What do you when people come to see it up at Central Scotland Documentary Festival? Have to keep plugging that. But when people come up to watch I Smile up there, what would you say, or what would you hope the viewer comes away with? Like, if there was any one thing they walk out thinking, what would you hope that would be?
That's really tough. I'm just going to go with one of the answers I could give, which is for non-swimmers, because apparently it's some sort of cult that you get sucked into. But I was just like, you'll never catch me in cold water. Even at the start of the film, I was like, in a wetsuit in summer, just like, no. And then by the end, I'm there just in my bikini in like 0 degrees, like breaking the ice with Becca. And now I just go swimming on my own, and it feels good for my health. And I think that is quite a nice thing to take away from it. That people can, even if you're like, no way, not for me. It's
I
for
mean,
you.
that's me. That's me, by the way. Not happening.
Seriously, but I think I wouldn't be able to do that unless I had the community to do it with first. I wouldn't have just gone on my own ever.
No,
So-
that's cool. I can respect that.
I can respect that. I'm still not getting it.
Not getting in, not happening. I won't play football in the rain, so that's not happening. So, Rachel, what's next? What have you got coming up next? Obviously, we're still showing iSmile. It's going around the place and it's doing its thing. But is there anything else you're working on? Anything you're going to be bringing us that we can look out for?
There's quite a few things, always.
Excellent.
I do actually have another swim film, which is got its first screening on the 5th of November in Keswick,
Nice.
which is my own screening that I'm putting on with a couple of other films. And it's about a really great guy called Jim Reed, who had a bad accident. He broke his back and then he found swimming. And it's just about his journey in men's mental health and kind of and that kind of community, but more like endurance, long distance swimming, rather than, I mean, a mile is long and cold, but yeah, that's the next one. And then there's a few other winter climbing film is out
Nice.
this month. So I like to do a bit of everything sports wise. I don't have a niche.
And as you should. You're changing the game. You're bringing out these interesting, thought-provoking documentaries. So tackle everything, and I really like the mental health aspect of it as well. I mean, after the last few years that everyone's had, it's so important now, which is why I start most of my interviews the way I did. I do apologize for that. And I never give people the heads up, and they're always like, "You really should have told me that was going to."
Someone just burst into tears.
It's happened. It didn't make it to the video, but it's happened. So yeah, I love what you're doing, and again, I think iSmile. I loved Becca's story. I loved the characters around Becca, and even the fact that, as I mentioned before, the relationship that I could feel between you and Becca as well was something I wasn't necessarily expecting, because a lot of filmmakers don't do that. So it was really cool that was there as well, and I got to feel that. Love the movie. I can't wait for us to show it to everyone that's going to be there. It's going to be great. Tell people where they can find you. I believe iSmile, you can also get it on Vimeo now as well.
Yes, it is behind a pay barrier. I apologize.
No, it should be. You've got to pay for quality.
But some of the money also goes to a local charity on the northeast, which kind of gives access to people to the sea, so they can get down to the sea. They struggle. And I guess Instagram, Rachel Sarah M, and my website, rachelsarahmedia.com.
But before we go, Rachel, what is your favorite? I normally ask film. I normally say like your favorite one or two films, but is there a documentary out there that you feel like people should really check out? Apart from iSmile.
Yes, because I have literally been telling everyone for last week that they should watch this certain one. So my favorite at the moment is one called Fire of Love. Weird name. It's a Nat Geo one, so I think it's on Disney Plus. I know it's not an independent doc-ish, but it's only made from archival footage and audio,
Nice.
pretty much, which I think is just from an editing and directing perspective, yeah, that's the word. It's just so impressive, and that's something I'd love to do one day. And it's about volcanoes.
Nice. We love volcanoes.
We love volcanoes,
You know,
but also scary.
Also very scary. We actually at one of the other festivals we had a short movie. It was 5 minutes long, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and they had used only archive footage from NASA, because apparently NASA's footage in the NASA storage banks is like free license. You don't have to have permission to use it or anything like that. You can just use it. Takes a while to get, apparently, because there's that much of it. But and you don't really know what you're getting. You just get given stuff. And this lad had like downloaded so many hours of footage and then made a short movie out of it. I mean, it was pretty impressive. And of course, the camera work was flawless because it's NASA.
Yeah, my next film's going to be something about space. Now you've told me that.
Just get yourself up into space. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Easy.
But Rachel, again, thank you so much for giving us iSmile and letting us put it into the festival. And if you're there, it'll be awesome to see you. If you're not, don't worry about it. We'll not hold it against you. But again, this is Kevin Haldon. I've been speaking to Rachel Serra, the director of documentary movie iSmile, which we're going to be showing in November. One of the days from the 2nd till the 5th. I'm not sure which day yet, but we will let you know.
We'll look it up.
And you've got to check it out because it's a fantastic story with some great characters and it looks stunning. So yeah. Please do come back. We'll be back for some more interviews and some more reviews and all that good stuff. But for now, Central Scotland Documentary Festival, get yourself there. It's up in Stirling, which is a lovely, lovely place in Scotland. And we're all going to be there and it's going to be amazing.